Are you wasting hours every single week on repetitive tasks? Potentially tasks that you don't even know that you could automate. And I asked you because I used to do the same thing until I discovered the things that I could automate. And now I save at least 10 hours a week using a tool like make.com, and I can't wait to show you how I do it. So in today's video, you'll learn how to automate 5 everyday tasks that I feel will save you time and make your life easier. So whether it's managing emails, handling social media posts, organizing files, or things along these lines. These automations that I will show you will set you up to save hours, at least several hours every week. So my aim is to get you from the question, can I do that, to that's exactly how to do it in make.com. I'll break down these 5 real-world automations in a step-by-step fashion, and I'll show you how you can start getting more time, more leverage in your day-to-day life. So stick around, especially the last one, I feel is a game changer that most people overlook. So with that said, let's dive right in. The first one that I'm going to be speaking about is automating email responses. And many people are literally tired of responding to the same emails. For example, someone gets the email, I don't know, about frequently asked questions or emails around scheduling or opening hours. Think about the questions that customers tend to ask the most often. For example, customer appointment requests, inquiries. These are literally perfect for automation because the answer is most of the time the same every single time. The way to do it in make.com, and I'll just switch over here, is to have a new scenario. So if you're new to this channel, what I'm doing is using make.com, which is my favorite no-code automation tool. And in a new scenario right here, I can go to my Gmail module. And I have a bunch of things that I can do. So I can watch emails. I can then, once I watch emails, there are the actions that I can take. So I can copy an email, create a draft, delete an email, mark as read. So what I'm going to do is watch emails. I'm just going to choose my account right here. And once I do that, I have some options to choose from. So I can choose the folder. So over here, you'll get a list of all the folders that you have in your email inbox. I can choose the filter that I want to use, whether it's a simple or Gmail filter. So here you can also use a Gmail search syntax. So if you click here, you'll be able to see the search operators that you can use in make.com. But for this example, let's just go for a simple filter. And you have criteria. So you can look for all emails, only unread emails, or only read emails. So you decide which ones you want. You can decide how many emails you will grab. And in this case, let's go to inbox. Criteria, let's go with only unread emails. And let's grab the latest email. You can also look at the advanced options. So here you have a few additional options that you can look at, such as a search phrase, a subject, a sender's email. But let's say that you want to only get emails that have the subject query. All right, so this will only process emails that contain a specific or a specified character string in the subject. So if I hit OK, I can then choose from which point do I want to start running and processing data. So let's just say from now on. So hit OK. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send myself an email, which literally says to myself, the subject is going to be query. So let me pull this up on screen. And hi there, can I know more about the services that you offer? And I'm going to hit send. So now, if I run this, it should pull the email that I just sent. And in fact, as you can see here, there's the text content. There's the HTML version of that. There's the subject query. So like this, if you have an email that comes in that contains always the same subject, this is a great way to always pull those emails directly into make.com. Once you're here, then it's up to you what you want to decide what you want to do with that. So I can also have another Gmail module that copies an email, creates a draft, delete an email, or let's say send an email. So here, what I'm going to do is I can leave that empty. I can add the recipient here, which will be the same person email address here. And for content, let's say that the content will be we sell online AI and automation systems, right? What are you looking to get? And notice that I can also use HTML tags right here. So here I can use HTML tags. What I might also want to do is grab the sender name here and just address the email to the first name listed here. So I can grab that, but let's say I only want to use the first name rather than the full name. So I can say hello, and I'm going to I'm going to split that by the presence of a space. And then I'm going to get the first item in my array. So instead of Kevin Farouj, I'm just going to get the first part, which is Kevin. I'm going to put a comma there, and I'm going to put an HTML line break. So this should read, hello, first name. We sell online AI plus automation systems, new line. What are you looking to get? Let's set a paragraph break, and then have our email, or have our name there. So now, okay, have an unclosed function. So probably I have a missing bracket. Let's try again. And now, if I go back to my email inbox, right here, and send the same query to myself, so I'm just going to copy it. I'm going to compose a new email. And what I'm going to do is just send this to myself again. Subject is query. And I'm going to send it just like that. So hit send. And now, if I run this is still watching for emails. Okay, so now it's running. And now it sent an email back. So if I go to my inbox here, you see that this said hello. So we have a problem here. We sell online, what are you looking to get? So I have a couple of problems here. First of all, this shouldn't look as such, and I'm not getting the first name listed there. So let's explore why that is happening. So here, let's see. So here I'm getting the sender email. I'm splitting it by a space, and I should be getting the first part of that email. So let's see why that is not happening. We fix that. So let's try this again. So let's split the sender name, or is it, by the presence of a space. Close that. And then if we get that and we get the first item, that should work. So let's try it again. I think the bracket is in the wrong place right there. So hello. Let's try it again. So save. Going to go back to my inbox, send the same email to myself. And if I pull that up on screen, going to paste that in there, choose myself. And the subject needs to be query. So hit send. And now I'm going to run this once. And let's see what happens. So this is watching for new emails. It's grabbing my email that I just sent to myself. And now this is the email that I just got. Hello, Kevin. We sell online AI plus automation systems. What are you looking to get? So the BR has been removed here. The email is looking good, or the first name is looking good. And just like that, if you have any emails that come in that are always with the same subject or follow some type of the same pattern, you can set up these auto replies in Make.com, and it allows you to really cut down the time that it would take you to respond to those emails by a significant amount. So definitely one automation to try out in the real world, right? So that's the first thing, which means that your inbox will now be under control and you can move on to something different, which in this case is going to be about social media. So many people spend a lot of time scheduling social media posts, right? It's no secret that this is a big amount of time that people spend on a daily, on a weekly basis. And it is exhausting, which means that probably there's a way to make it less exhaustive or less exhausting and use Make.com to connect different content to your social media. There are different ways of doing it. So many people used to use something like Buffer or something called Later. So buffer.com or later.com. And these products powered, like the slogan here is, we power the creator economy, or grow your audience on social media and beyond. There are different ways how you could get this to work. For example, you could sign up for this, you could drag and drop stuff here, and probably the same thing with later.com. I've used Buffer, I haven't used Later before. But what I'm going to show you is a way to automate all this so there's no need for manual drag and drop, for manual posting. And what we need here is a database, which I tend to use something like Airtable, which allows you to have a content calendar with a specific date, and when that date is actually the time now, the date and time match the time now, you'll be able to set up this system that automatically pushes your content directly onto social media, whether that is LinkedIn, whether it's Twitter or X, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, any social media channel that you want, just based on the time that you set in Airtable or in Google Sheets. This means that you don't have to log in manually, you don't have to log in every day, the things just work on autopilot. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of this whole process. Because once you set it up, you can literally spend 15 minutes and have your whole social media content calendar run on autopilot for the next week, the next month. Let's get right into that. So if I switch back to my screen here, what we need is, first of all, let's save this. And here we need to have something like Airtable, something like a Google Sheet, which is where all the information will be found. So let me open up Airtable. And what I'm going to do is create a new database. So let me just create that. And here I have this untitled base. So let's call this social media posting. And in order to keep it simple, first of all, I'm going to delete all this. Here I'm going to have a unique record ID, which is something I love doing anyway. So I ensure that each record is unique. And I tend to set the primary field to this record ID. Then I need to have a few fields right here. So I need to have the social media platform. So here, let's go with single select. And let's say that we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have LinkedIn, we have X, whatever platforms you want to have. Then I will have a content field, which will be a long text. And let's say we have a publish date, which will be of type date. By default, so I want this, no, I don't want this to be the current date. And I also will have a status field, which also will be a single select. So this will be awaiting, and we'll also have a status called published. So essentially, that's all I need to do. And the way this will work is that here I'll have some social media content. I'll have the platform. I will set the publish date, which, as you can see in our table, you can set directly from it. And then the status. So by default, it will be awaiting. And then once it's published, obviously it will change to published. So here I'm just going to change the default option to awaiting. And now, just for the sake of this, let's quickly go to ChatGPT. And I'm going to create create me a social media post and give me different outputs for Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and Instagram. All right. So Facebook. So let's just grab this and choose Facebook, paste in that content. And let's do the same for LinkedIn. X. And we also have Instagram. Let me just remove the information there. Obviously, spend a bit more time with this IG. All right. Now, thinking about this, what we want is that we want to set the publish date when we create the post. So if you're creating the posts in make.com using automation, you want to, first of all, set the status to awaiting, or you just do it like so, and you have the default option set to awaiting. And most importantly, you want to set the publish date, whether it's the day after tomorrow, the day after, or at some point in the future. Then what we're going to do is have another automation that will look at this database, and it will compare any dates that are in the past. For example, if I set this to that, this is now in the future, so no action will need to be taken. But if this is like so, which means that this is in the past and the status is awaiting, then it's time to publish that post. So let's just set some different dates over here, so you'll see what I mean when I set this up. What I could also do is sort this by the publish date, with the earliest going through to the latest. So like this, I also know what is happening or what is going to be published up next. So now if I go to my make.com account and I go to my Airtable, I can search for records. I can choose my database, which is called social media posting. I'm in table 1. And what I want to do is, first of all, do I want to sort? No. I want to grab everything. And what I want is, actually, let me try this in different ways. So first I'm going to grab all the information with no formula. So let me just leave this at S10. And this should give me an error. Not what it should give me. Check your request data. So let's say here. Let's remove that. Okay, looks good. Oops. Save, run. Okay. So now I got bundle 1, 2, 3, and 4, which are all the posts that we have in our table. Now, the next step would be to go through these bundles and decide if the publish date is later than the date today. So what you could do is set a variable which essentially gets the date now, and you want to format in a specific way. So as you can see here, Airtable formats this in year, dash month, dash day. So let's format this in y, month, day. Date now. And if I were to run this only, this should give me the date of today, 2024, 12/21. In a way, similar to what Airtable gave me. So year, month, and day. So now the next thing I need to do is compare the two, and only proceed if the specific bundle from here is later or the same as the date now. And here, proceed might mean posting on LinkedIn or posting on Facebook or Instagram. And for that, I'm going to add a router. But let me move to the filter here. And what I'm going to do is run that so I have access to the data, which now means that I can set a filter. So the filter will be that the publish date, right, is daytime operator. So the publish date from our table should be earlier than, no. So it should be equal to or less than or equal to, earlier than or equal to. So I want this to be earlier, than the date today. Because if things are in the past right here, so this I want to publish, this I want to publish because today is the 21st. And the others I don't want. Great. So technically, if publish date is earlier than or equal to date now, this should proceed. Has published date was or is today. Hit OK. And just as a test, let's have something happen here. Let's go with, I don't know, Gmail. Create a draft. And let me send an email to myself. Whatever, inbox. And let's say the subject is time to publish. And what I'm going to do is say time to publish on, I'm going to choose a social media platform, right? So the way I would build this, if this were a real production environment type of situation, is I would go here and I would have a route that goes down to publishing on LinkedIn, a route that goes down to publishing on Instagram, and so on and so forth. Thinking about it, I can just delete this, and that deleted the filter. So let's set that again. Date now. Daytime operator that is earlier than or equal to. The condition is publish date. And is this earlier or equal to Airtable recording? So now, if this works, and looking back at my Airtable, I should get 2 emails saying this is time to publish on Instagram and Facebook. What I also want to do after that is update my Airtable record, because I want to change this from status awaiting to status published. So the base is called social media posting. Table is table 1. The record ID will be the one from this module right here, which is ID there. And I want to update my status to say published. Hit OK. And let's take this for a spin. So let me run that. As you can see, we got 4. Okay, we set the time 4 times, which I could also have moved to the beginning. Here we got 4 bundles, as we saw earlier. Out of those 4 bundles, we got 2 emails and 2 updated records. So if I go back to my table, you'll see that this would have been published, this would have been published, and these are still awaiting. So each time I run this, it will check if the day today has or is after this and this, the publish date, and then publish if this has elapsed. And if I go back to my email, you'll see that, obviously I didn't set my information here, but I got this time to publish on IG, time to publish on Facebook. So this is working well as well. And this is a quick way to set up an automation type of like a content automation system, a content publishing system. So you don't have to pay for something like later.com or something like the other website I showed you earlier. It's just something that you create with a few connected modules that works well together. So this is how to automate your social media posting. And if you want to take it further, as I mentioned, you can also have it be that it also generates the post itself. So you have a make automation scenario that generates the automations or generates the social media content, and the other that checks whether the time has elapsed and then publishes as needed. So those would be two different automations in make.com. All right, the next thing is task management. And this is also a very, I think, crucial automation to run, because if you ever feel that your tasks and your reminders are all over the place, automation can help fix that. And the first thing to do is to, for example, automate task assignments. Things like, or tools like Trello, like Asana, they really help with ensuring that none of the tasks that need to be done actually slip through the cracks. For example, if a lead form is submitted, it can automatically get added as a task in Asana or in Trello or in Airtable, which means that someone is assigned to it and can actually follow up with the right person. The sales team might give the right person a call. You can also set up automatic reminders, and it's very simple to set up using May.com, where, for example, every 2 days you're sending a reminder to someone and ensuring that you are, I don't know, getting paid on time, that you are doing whatever needs to get done on the right day at the right time without you actually spending hours following up with these people. And once you do that, it will take you from manually having to remind yourself or your team to do these tasks to ensuring that everyone stays on track without that extra effort. So there's no excuse for anyone to miss those important things that really move the needle forward. They are repetitive, they are boring, but they are crucial and need to get done. So let's speak a bit more about how to set up this type of automation. So switching back to my screen here, let's say that the situation that we want to build is that once someone fills in a form, we want to immediately assign this to someone. We want the person responsible for reaching out to that person to immediately get a notification. And again, I'm going to be using email, but email can be substituted with anything like Slack, something like, I don't know, a CRM. So anything where records are kept can be replaced with email. Also, we want this to be done in the most straightforward path as possible. So what I'm going to do is, for this, I'm going to go back to my Airtable here, and let's go to forms. And let's build a new form. So this will go to a new table. Let's give this a name. So a new form or new table. Yeah, because we're creating a new table. And let's call this new form. Let's create a form. And here we will have some questions that people can fill. And as you will also notice, here I will have a new table with an ID and a question. So what I want is, let's have the first name here. Let's duplicate that and call it last name. And let's have a question field, which will be a long text. So what I want, if I go back to forms, is that here I have first name, let's add last name, and let's add question. And let's add a field called email, which is very important. So create field called email. Let's move that there. So it's a very simple question form, right? And this is a great thing about Airtable, that you can combine forms and data into, like, you do it all from one interface. If you hit publish, then you get a URL that anyone on the web can access. So you can just copy the link. And then if I go to an incognito tab and I paste that link in, I get this question form that anyone can just fill. And if I fill that in, test question, I can hit submit, and that data will immediately get populated in my table. So I get the name, last name, the question, and the email. So what I want is that as soon as this happens, something happens as a result, right? And again, you can do this in multiple different ways. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a trigger, which is listening to this. And as soon as a new record is added in my Airtable right here, I would get an email notification. This is also something that you can do directly through Meg.com, through Airtable itself. But having this data in Meg.com makes it easier to do something with it. So maybe you want to immediately have, I don't know, a pre-populated answer. So that might be useful. So let's create that field. So what I want is that based on this question here, I want to send the data to Meg.com and then fill this in with a pre-populated answer. So immediately when I have someone come in and see that there's a new question, they not only know that they need to follow up, but they get an answer that they can use as a reply. So let's go back to, or let's go here to automations. And what I want is that when a record is created in the table called new table, and I can also choose a record here as a test, I want to do something. So I can run a script, I can send an email, I can generate with AI. So there's a bunch of things that you can do. In my case, the best way to do this would be to run a script. But as you can see, I'm on the free plan with Airtable, so I can't really do it this way automatically. But there's a better way, there's a different way to do it rather than have an automation right here. So let's go back to data. Here, what I'm going to do is let's have a generate email reply. And I'm going to have a button right here. Because think about it, maybe you don't want to generate an email reply for every email that you get. Maybe in some cases, it's easier to just reply directly to a person, right? So this will, in a way, give you the ability to choose whether you want to send the first name, last name, the question, and the email to Make.com, or whether you want to generate or create an email reply and send it directly there and then. So here, I'll have the option to hit this button, which will send this data to Make.com, and then return the pre-populated answer. If I go back to Make.com, what I need is to create a webhook. Custom webhook. I'm going to add a webhook, and this is essentially a way to get Make.com to constantly listen to this information right here. So as soon as this button is pressed, the information will get sent right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste in my webhook right there, and I'm going to send some additional information to Make.com. Primarily, I want to send the first name, so I'm going to call that fname. I'm going to say fname equals, and I'm going to add the parameter called first name. I'm going to add the lname, which is equal to last name. And I'm also going to add the question. So in my case, I'm just going to add the and question equals to and question. As you can notice, if I have a variable or a column with 2 words, I need to put it in curly brackets. If it's just one word, I can just put it without those curly brackets. So that's one thing to note about Airtable. Now, let's test this out. So I ensure that this is running, that is, it is listening for data, and I press generate email reply. And now, if I go to my Make.com scenario, I get the fname, lname, and the question, which means that I can do something with it. So what I'm going to do is go to OpenAI, create a completion. I'm going to choose the model. Let's go with something basic. We'll go with the mini. And essentially, here you can go as deep as you want with your prompt. So you can have a system prompt, or you should have a system prompt that helps the model identify what it does. So for example, you are an intelligent email reply system. You should have a user prompt, which gives context and provides instructions. And if you want to take it further, you should also provide examples of good replies and bad replies. So the model really understands what it's all about. In my case, all I'm going to do is add a message, user, you work in a business that helps, that builds AI automation systems for people. You get input, or as input, people send in their requests, and you provide an email response. It's a very basic prompt. Here is the question, and I'm going to pass the question right there. And I'm going to say, here is the person's first name. Here's the question. So here's the person's first name, and I'm going to choose the F name, and here's the question. Provide only the email response, starting with hi F name. Finish with yours, or best regards, Kevin. And then all I need to do is update this pre-populated answer here. So if I go back to Airtable, actually, I just need to pass the ID as well. So I would know where I need to pre-populate or where I need to populate the pre-populated answer. So here I'm also going to pass and ID is equal to, and I'm going to pass the ID there. Save. So here the ID will be one.id. So Airtable, update a record in my social media posting. The name is new table. The record ID will be one.id. And as you can see, it doesn't exist yet here because I haven't run that yet. And for the answer, I'm going to put the result from ChatGPT or from OpenAI. Hit save, hit run once, and let us test this out. So here, if I go to my form again and open it up again, let me see what the URL was. I don't know. Can't seem to find it in my clipboard. So let's just grab that again. Anyone on the web, copy a link, paste that in there. Let's say that John Smith, john.smith@gmail.com. Hi, I interested in AI and automation systems. Can you help? Hit submit. And now, if I go to data, I should get that there. So I can generate email reply. Which means that if I go to my Maggie.com, there seems to be some kind of problem. So let's see, missing value of required ID. So here I got ID, which, okay, the issue is that this is a small I. And here I believe I included it as a capital letter. Yep. So I can just replace that. Hit OK, hit save, go back to Airtable, generate email reply. And now, let's see. Did that not work? Okay, let's wait for new data. I might not have started running that. Not found. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I know why that is. So the ID and the record ID are not the same thing. And here I'm trying to use record ID with ID. Yeah. So what I need to do is either send the record ID right here, which is a hidden field, or I can find what the record ID for this specific ID is. So let's go with the second one. So here I can add a module. I can search Airtable. And if I search social media posting in your table, social media posting in your table, going to grab everything there. I mean, I don't really need to grab everything, but yeah, whatever. And the formula is ID is equal to ID. I think this is a number, so I don't think I need to put it in quotes. So let's see if that works. And then this would allow me to have the actual record ID to update. So technically, I believe, yeah, the issue is that we have two of them. But I think that will be the record ID, because ID with a capital I is this field right here. Let's test this out. So let's wait for new data. Let's hit generate email reply. And let's see right now. All right, 404 not found. So there's something else that's wrong right here. So actually it was, yeah, the both capital letter ones. So let's try it again. Wait for new data, generate email reply, and let's see if that fixes it. And this does. So here, as you can see, I got the pre-populated answer. So there's the question. Pre-populated answer. Hi, John. Thank you for reaching out. I'm glad to hear you're interested in AI automation systems. We would be happy to help you explore the possibilities and find solutions that meet your needs. Please let me know any specific areas you're interested in or questions you have, and we can set up a time to discuss this further. Best regards, Kevin. So as you can see, it started with the hi first name, best regards, Kevin. So it is working well. Again, if you're on a Airtable premium account, you'd be able to generate this email reply immediately once data comes in. In my case, since I'm on the free version, I would need to hit generate email reply. What I could also do, instead of starting with a webhook here, is I can do what I had earlier in one of the previous scenarios, where I can see if I have new entries in my Airtable every so often, which means that I would still start the automation from make.com. So it is one other way of doing it. All right, so let's see what's next. We spoke about a few automations, and now let's speak about something that is really a pain in the ass, and it is data entry. So in the previous scenario, we spoke about someone entering data into a form, right? What you can do is, even if you have someone entering data into something that is internal, like Google Sheet, you can have all that data get transferred, get entered into your CRM. So in a way, this is very similar to what I just did before. But what I'm going to do is, instead of starting from a form in Airtable, I'm going to start from something like a Google Sheet. So you get another way, another view into how you can deal with data as it comes into the system. And the thing is that by doing this, you eliminate the need for manual data entry, which means that there is more time for you to focus on more important tasks, and you reduce the chances of someone making mistakes, or maybe yourself making mistakes, once you are inputting data. And Google Sheets is a very used application. Personally, I prefer to use Airtable, but I know that many people also love Google Sheets. So what I'm going to do here is, instead of having this webhook right here, let's just unlink this for now. What I'm going to do is start a new sheet. So just going to sheets.new. And let's say that I have, I don't know, name and question. So maybe I'm inserting data manually into a Google Sheet. If you go to extensions and add-ons, manage add-ons, you can insert the make for Google Sheets. So once you set this up once, you don't need to do it again, but this is the first time that you do it. And then we go to settings. You should get this menu right here, where you can add a webhook URL, which means that each time an automation, or rather something changes in your Google Sheet, then this will send the information to make.com. So here, you can still use the same webhook address. So if I enter my webhook address there and hit save, This generally takes a few seconds till you get a confirmation. But then once that happens, if you run this automation here, so let's say that this is waiting for new data now. Once some changes or any changes happen in here, that should send the information to my webhook. And it will happen very quickly. And it will happen each and every time that new information is entered. So this is one thing to note with this type of Google Sheet automation. Here you get some information like the range, so column start, column end. So it was in column number 1, which is A. You also get the row. So it happened in row number 2. So in A2, there was something that happened. You can see that the value is now Kevin. You get the user that made a change. And you get row values. So row, I guess row 0 refers to row start maybe. I don't know. I've never used this row value because I generally use this range right here. So this also means that, let's say we have status, and let's say that we have a question. Hi there, how much does an automation system cost? And I don't know, maybe we want to change the status. So when we have a name and a question inserted, we want to change the status to seen. So it's a simple automation, but it will give you the idea of what you can do. So here, if I hit run once, this should have been listening for data. It's just that it wasn't turned on. So now there are quite a few entries in my queue. So if I save changes and go back, this should tell me that there are 3 records in the queue waiting to be processed. So let's go back here. And what I want to do is, let me think, what do I want to do? So let's say that if in my row, both column A and column B are not empty, then I want to update the status to seen. So here, let's run this once with existing data. Actually, let's clear everything. Let's delete all data, delete. Okay, and let's get this to listen. Let's update something here. So now I have, as you can see, if there's a value before, you also get old value, which is that, plus the new value, which is the thing I just added right here. Okay, so let's actually use this row values. So yes, I think this is in our row, which is, as we know here, the row is 2. So if in row 2, so if in our row, we have a value in 0 and 1, then let's update column 2, which is C. So here, what I'm going to do is go to Sheets, and I'm going to update a row. I'm going to search, let's enter this manually, so I can grab the ID of this sheet. The name is sheet 1. The row number will be this right here, the row start. Column range I can leave A to Z. And what I'm going to do is update the status to seen. So column C will be changed to seen. So this will happen at the moment each and every time something happens, right? So if I were to turn this on and then delete this, I'm expecting the status to be updated. Let's see. Okay, let's run this to see what is happening. So let's enter something there. And that updated. If, let's try again, delete that. I mean, yeah, this is already seen. So let's try. So I leave something there. and do this. Okay. So each time something is happening, this is changing the status to seen. Let's see. So this should be running in the background. Let's try it again. Okay, so for some reason, run once. Hmm. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I like using Airtable more than Google Sheets. It tends to work well most of the time, but when it doesn't, it's a pain in the ass. So as you can see, I made the change from D to whatever, and then it worked. But let's remove that. Yeah, so that's updated as well. So if technically, if this is running immediately and this is empty, and I had a question there, that should technically put seen there because this is running immediately as data arrives. Yeah, but as you can see, it seems like I need to run this manually and then make a change. Yeah. So it does seem to be a bit buggy and there are no other options here. So when it works well. What I would potentially suggest is not using a webhook with Google Sheets, but rather doing it on a sort of every, 15 minutes or every 15 hours, whatever it might be. Because like that, you know that at that time frequency, things will actually happen. So anyway, that was another way how you can take data from some type of input, whether it's a Google Sheet, some type of input form, and get make.com to do something with it. As I said, it's similar to what we saw before, but now I want to use Google Sheet to show you the make extension settings as well. Now, finally, let's speak about file organization, because this is one thing that many people struggling with. And if your files are a mess, here's how automation can really help organize them for you. So think about this. Most people have an email inbox that is just collecting emails. What most people do is create some sort of filters, but this is the extent of it. What we can do is create better filters. So in a way, it also goes back to what we spoke about in, I think it was the first use case, is have specific filters and folders in your inbox. Then let's say that you want to set up automated backups. So whenever an email comes into that folder, you connect your inbox with make.com and the files or the attachments are uploaded directly to your Google Drive, which means that automatically you're creating Google backups or Dropbox backups. So your files, your data is always safe and organized. And the best part is that you don't have to lift a finger. So even if something happens and someone accidentally deletes a whole folder, you won't have to go back and pull your hair out and try to manually organize data. It will all be there available for you. So let me give you an example of what I mean. So here, you can just save that. Theoretically, the way it would work is that you will have the Gmail module or the email module that is watching emails. So here, let's say that I go back to my inbox. And what I want to do is any email which has the subject called backup, I want to watch for those emails. So let's say this is in my inbox. And again, I'm using the subject as the filter. And what I'm going to do is once an email comes in, criteria. Let's do all emails, and let's do from now on. And let me just send an email to myself so it will make sense in the way we will proceed. So if I create an email to myself with the subject called, was it query, backup. I'm just going to copy that. And it's just a simple email, right? And what I'm going to do is have an email attachment with this email, which is just a screenshot. Actually, let's do it as an attachment. So here I'm going to save this image called capture. I'm just going to insert it over there. All right. So let's send an email. It's in drafts actually. Boom, boom, boom. So let me send that to myself. So now there should be an email with a subject called backup, which also has an attachment. As you can see, there's an attachment array. The file name is capture.jpg, and there is the data for that image. What I want to do is once this triggers, so once I have an email with that subject, then I want to do either a Dropbox upload, so I can upload a file to a selected folder, or I can do a Google Drive upload. So I don't think I've ever, yeah, let me try it. I don't think I've ever tried uploading on this account. So let's map this, and there are 3 different ways how you can do it. So here I'm just going to try the attachments, and I'm going to try and map that data. For file name, I'm just going to use the capture.jpg. And let me just go to my drive.google.com. And I'm just going to create a new folder. So call it test. So here, my Google Drive, I just have a test folder. So here, by select from a list, technically I should be able to see that file that I just created. Yeah. Problem, I tried this before, and since it's a personal Gmail, there is that issue. So let me try Dropbox. Also, I haven't tried Dropbox with this account. So let's see. Dropbox, upload a file. Let's try and map that. Let's try and choose a folder. See if it manages to pull. Yes. All right, great. So let me just create a new folder on my Dropbox. And let's call this YouTube test. So here, I might need to refresh this. YouTube, okay. We're going to do this again. So attachments, data goes there, and file name goes there. So let's try that. Can delete the Google Drive, can save, and let's try running that. So now obviously I didn't find anything. So if I choose where to start, let me see if I can choose the first email that I just sent myself. Backup. Is this the one? It might be 1920. Yeah, I think it is the one. So let's try run this once. And let's see if that seems to have uploaded successfully. Yes. And if I go to my Dropbox, you see that in my YouTube test, I got my capture image, which if I open, should be the one that I sent as an email attachment. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's switching an email, and then it's uploading a file to Dropbox. As you can see, it's pretty simple with Dropbox. With Google Drive, we need to ensure that you are, I think, on a team plan or a domain plan rather than a free Gmail account. With that said, there is a way to connect it just like you would connect a normal Gmail account through Make. It's just that there is a process to it. So yeah, essentially, those were 5 different ways or where you can use automation to save hours, if not more, every week. What I'll say is that with these automations, you might need to set them up once, and this might take you time to set them up the first time. But once you've set up these 5 powerful automations that include email responses, social media scheduling, we spoke about task management, data entry, and also file organization. So once you set up each of these, they will save you hours, they will reduce the stress, which means that you get more time to focus on what matters in your day-to-day work. So if you're ready to claim back your time, I would really recommend that you start with one of these automations, you test it out, and you let it help you in your daily, in your work life, in your personal life potentially. So yeah, this is from my end. Check out the link in the description for more information on how I can help you with your business when it comes to AI and automation. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next video. And speaking of the next video, I'll see you in that one. Cheers.